Donald Trump's most well-known political slogan is obviously "Make America Great Again," but right behind that, I think it's safe to say his second most well-known slogan is "America First." Now, neither "Make America Great Again" or "America First" were actually originated by Donald Trump. "Make America Great Again" goes at least back to the Reagan days, maybe earlier. And America First originated all the way back in the 1850s and has been used by numerous political candidates and movements throughout history. But in modern American political discourse, that phrase is obviously heavily associated with the MAGA movement, with the modern American right, and Trump himself has consistently used this phrase. He talks about leading the America First movement. He's used it since his first campaign back in 2015 and 2016. And now, look, I may not be ideologically aligned with the right or Donald Trump to really any extent, but I can appreciate the sentiment of wanting to solve problems in your own backyard, in your own country, before helping people elsewhere in the world. I am someone who believes you can do both at once. It doesn't have to be an either or, but I very much respect the idea of get your own house in order first before you try to help others. I think that does make sense on a national political level and also just on a personal level. You know, if you're not doing well, if you're struggling, if you're going through personal hardships, if you aren't able to solve those, you're not going to be really much use to people in your family, your friends, your community. You know, it's good to get your own shit together before helping others. But this idea of America First with Donald Trump has shown time and time again just to be a cynical campaigning and marketing tactic. He clearly does not mean it. From the fact that all of his Make America Great Again and Trump merch, when people go into Trump stores, they've shown this repeatedly. Most of it is made elsewhere, in China, in Vietnam, in Mexico, in almost every other country but America. Trump, the family, recently launched those gold phones, which are made in China. I mean, their own manufacturing process is clearly not a supply chain that is America First. And then even policy-wise, you know, I could go through countless examples from the first and second term where they seem to be prioritizing other countries over the United States. But there's one country more than any of the others that seems to be prioritized ahead of America at all times. And to be fair to Trump and his family, it's not just with Republicans. The same thing has been true with many Democrats and Democratic administrations. This is a bipartisan problem, but that is the fact that Trump, in reality, doesn't seem to be America first. He seems to be Israel first. And again, it's not just Trump. Much of the American government, much of the American political establishment seems to be Israel first. But I'm picking on Trump in particular because he's in power and he's the one who goes out there talking about Make America Great Again, America First, over and over, and has been for the past decade. And clearly it's just words to him. Because look at this new story that came out today. The idea that the Trump administration is going to withhold disaster funding for states or cities that boycott Israel. Now, this is just frankly insane. This is the least America First thing you could do. So you're saying that if an American city or state criticizes or boycotts what is supposed to be a foreign country, that you're not gonna help them out in the case of a hurricane, in the case of a flood, in the case of a natural disaster? Do you know how insane that is? So you're saying that your fealty, your loyalty to a foreign country, like you could be as loyal to America as you want, but if you boycott Israel, if you go against Israel, we're not gonna help you. That's insane. If this alone, this one news story doesn't rip the mask off of the whole America First thing, then I'm sorry, you're just never gonna see it, all right? And this is why many of us talk about the most hardcore MAGA people as being in a cult, because if you see this story and you can't just take the blinders off and realize that this man is not America First, then you're just kind of helpless. There's not much more you can do to reason or logic with you. And look, I'm someone, I may not agree with you on a lot politically, but I have a lot of empathy for many of the gripes of the MAGA movement. You know, affordability is a huge problem. The elite, both, the wealthy elite, the political elite, the cultural elite, they have way too much power. They're screwing us all. Fully agree with you there. I mean, the tech elite, what they're doing with AI and all that. There's a lot of shit that seems conspiratorial, but that is just true. The way they're consolidating power, wealth, the way they're trying to get rid of people's jobs with AI, the way they're shipping jobs overseas to not have to pay people in America. I mean, I'm Canadian, but the same thing has happened here in the past as well, where jobs get shipped overseas, specifically manufacturing jobs, so that they can pay people less. I mean, all this stuff, I can empathize with your issues with it. But Trump being your savior for all of these issues, Trump being the guy that you think is going to fix all these problems, he's shown you time and time again that that's not true. And this is just another glaring example where he's putting the state of Israel over the United States of America, okay? Even if you are a hardcore Zionist, even if you are super pro-Israel, the idea that he would not help a state or city in need of relief from a disaster, an American city or state in need of relief just because that they have boycotted Israel, it's frankly insanity, all right? Now, the details on this are kind of irrelevant. It's the idea itself that is crazy here. You know, it's just talking about how there's $1.9 billion that states rely on to cover search and rescue equipment, emergency manager salaries, backup power systems, other expenses. It goes over how the Department of Homeland Security considers BDS to be an anti-Semitic movement, which this is a whole other conversation, but the idea that being anti-Israel or anti-Zionist is anti-Semitic, I think the fact that the Zionist movement and the pro-Israel movement has preached this so much has actually increased the amount of anti-Semitism, because, you know, if people are being told over and over again that being anti-Israel, being anti-Zionist means you're anti-Jew, what it does is it ingrains in people's minds that being Jewish is explicitly associated with Zionism, with Israel, when that's just not true. There's many anti-Zionist Jewish people, many Jewish people who don't support the state of Israel, especially in its current iteration, and yet by claiming that any, anti-Israel or anti-Zionist views are also anti-Semitic, they're basically pushing people with very real gripes about the Israeli government and Zionist movement towards more anti-Semitic views, because you're telling them that all Jewish people support this. And, many of us, myself included, see what's happening in Gaza as a genocide, see what's happening in the West Bank as a colonial occupation. And, they obviously have the end goal of annexing both those territories. And, if you're someone with, I would say, basic human decency, you see both those things as horrific. And if you are pushing this narrative that associates those actions explicitly with Judaism, I'm not someone who sees it like that myself, because I know that there's different strains of Judaism. There's many millions of Jewish people who don't support those things. But if, the pro-Israel kind of elite establishment is pushing this idea that to be against Israel, that to be against Zionism and the resulting horrors from those two things in what we're seeing in Gaza and the West Bank means you're also anti-Semitic, then a lot of people are just gonna take that at face value over time. After you keep ramming that idea down their throats, they're gonna be like, all right, I guess you're telling me that if being Jewish means being Zionist, then that means all Jewish people are supporting these horrors. And again, that's not true. So please don't fall into that line of thinking. But I think it's absolutely insane, this idea that BDS or any anti-Israel or anti-Zionist movements are explicitly anti-Semitic. But anyways, the point is, Donald Trump is clearly not America first. He's clearly Israel first. And anybody who's still falling for his America first tap dance at this point in time, do some serious self-reflection.